Hi, everybody. Welcome. I don't know what that was. Welcome back to Sun Bookshop Reviews. It's week 12 of 2021. People can have 100 people in their houses, which maybe you shouldn't do anyway, but you're allowed to. Now, I'm going to start us off with The Animals in That Country by Laura Jean McKay, which won the Victorian Premier's Prize. It's been nominated for the Stellar Award. So I wanted to see what all the fuss was about. Hilariously enough, it's sort of about a pandemic. Thankfully, not in the way you would expect it to be. It was written pre-pandemic, but basically it follows a woman called Jenny, who's a grandmother. She works in a zoo, probably in Queensland. It's not really named, it's just up north. But down south, there's this pandemic going around called the zoo flu. And it turns out they start hearing that if you get it, you can start communicating with animals. And Jeannie works there with her ex-daughter-in-law, like her son's ex-partner, and has her granddaughter, Kimberly. And her and her granddaughter help with the zoo. And they really want to be able to talk to the animals. They think it's a great idea until everything starts spreading. And then all these people start down south liberating animals from zoos. They start like killing themselves. Everything starts shutting down. And then, of course, the flu reaches them. And everyone starts kind of breaking down in the zoo. And then Kimberly, her granddaughter, gets taken away. So she goes on this in a camper van with this half Kelpie, half dingo mutt to like go down south and rescue her. And it's kind of Wake in Fright. There's some really Australian bizarre pub scenes in there. It's like a fever dream. And but it's really brilliant. And she starts communicating more and more with the animals, but especially with dog Sue. And they start kind of having a bit of an animal off. But I found it really incredible. It's really, really interesting. The animals speak in like poetry. So they're kind of unknowable, but also very intriguing. And it's very funny and it's very readable. I do recommend. And next is Deb.
Well, I would like to talk about Tracey Thorn's book, My Rock and Roll Friend, which is about Lindy Morrison. Tracey Thorn was in a band called the Marine Girls when she met Lindy Morrison. It was like a little girl punk band, baby punk band. And now she has Everything But the Girl is her band. And her and Lindy Morrison have been really great friends for decades. When they met, Tracey Thorn was so taken by Lindy. She was such a force of nature and so much more grown up than Tracey Thorn was. And she was living in a squat in London with the go-betweens and the birthday party and like living this that's what Lindy Morrison was doing. She was in a relationship with Robert Forster, and she is the drummer of the Go-Betweens that took the Go-Betweens from being these two boys and a guitar to being an incredible band, because she is a really unusual drummer and she's self-taught, and she's what makes the Go-Betweens great. Anyway, she eventually got kicked out of the band, as did the other woman who was in the band, on the same day at the same time, by Robert and Grant. Not very nice. So it's just really, it's the history of the Go-Betweens. It's Lindy Morrison's story. It's a fantastic story of female friendship that lasts for many decades. It's a story of how hard it is in rock and roll for women, and how hard it was in particular in the late 70s, early 80s. Really recommend it. Tracey Thorn's written 2 other books, and both of them are fantastic as well. She's written memoirs before, so this is her first book really, which is, I guess, a biography of the fantastic Lindy Morrison. Highly recommended. It's so good. Doesn't look like this. Like, I don't know, I must have rubbed it in dirt. I don't know how. Anyway, that's My Rock and Roll Friend by Tracey Thorn, and over to Kate.
Thanks, Deb. All right. I'm going to recommend a book that comes out in the next 10 days or so. It's called The Truth About Her by Jacqueline Maley. And it is the story. It's the story of a journalist called Susie who writes an expose about a wellness blogger who claims that her terminal illness was cured by her diet and nutrition and those sorts of things. So it's sort of ripped from the headlines premise there. But then the wellness blogger has a tragic death the day that the expose is published, and Susie, the journalist, gets blamed for the death. And it's sort of, that's the start of the book, and that's kind of how you're introduced to the characters. And then it just turns into this incredible story of Susie's relationship with her mother, with her daughter, so her role as a mother, and then the relationship that she has with the wellness blogger Tracey's mother. And it just, I don't know, I just loved everything about it. It was so beautifully written, really heartfelt, very tender, but also really funny and so real. Like the descriptions of Susie's role as a mother, I found very strikingly similar to my own. So yeah, I loved it. It's a great read. I thought it was really good for fans of Anne Patchett, Charlotte Wood, and yeah, it's a beautifully written novel. So I highly recommend it, and I can't wait for it to come out so I can tell everybody about it all the time. And I just also wanted to mention, while we're all here and while we have your attention, that we have events coming back to the Sun. So lots and lots of great events lined up over the next sort of 6 weeks and more, obviously, into the year. So I just wanted to mention a few of them. You can RSVP to them all via our website. So the first one we've got coming up is Emily Spur's book launch, which is her debut novel, A Million Things, and that's happening on March 31st. Then we have Lec Blaine in conversation with Serena Gale, talking about his memoir Car Crash, which was featured in the Good Weekend this weekend. And that's on Thursday, April 8th, and that'll be at the Younger Sun. Then we have the launch of the new Kerry Greenwood, The Lady with the Gun Asks the Questions, and that's happening on Saturday, April 10th. And then we have another book launch of a children's book, sort of a I believe, young adult middle grade book, Huda and Me by H. Hayek, on Saturday, April 24th. So all of those events, as I said, are on our website, and you can RSVP there. And we really look forward to seeing you all in the flesh at these great book events. So we will see you all again during our reviews next Sunday. The shop will be closed on Good Friday and Easter Monday, but we will be there on Saturday and Sunday. Yeah, thanks again, guys. Bye.
Bye, everyone.